If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. You remember a few years ago when all of us were warning about what just happened in the world going down, that whole outbreak thing, and then it went down? Well, now we're getting ready for the next thing to go down because their foot is on the gas pedal and they are not letting up. So you remember over the last couple of years, we've all been talking about the power grid. There's been predictive programming left and right, actual false flag operations like shutting down the power grid in New York temporarily on a hot summer night, shutting down power grids around the United States because of snowstorms. All of these things have been done as tests for what's about to go down now. We had the predictive programming with Russia and the cyber attacks. We've seen it in movies, we've seen it in television shows, and we've heard about it. They've been prepping us for months, years, right? Amazon hacked, Experian hacked, McDonald's was even hacked. Now the actual hacking is going to go down. And the hack isn't like, my personal information. This is going to be about attacking, hacking, and shutting down power grids. And people need to be prepped for it. The programming's already been laid in place. And now with everything you're hearing about the Ukraine and Russia and the nonsense going on there, and the U.S., of course, looking stupider than ever as always, which is being done on purpose by Biden. That's his role in this. The guy was hand-chosen by the elites to play this character of a bumbling fool. I'm sure he's a bumbling fool in real life, if he is human. He's playing the role, making the mistakes at the wrong time. The stuff with Afghanistan, the stuff we've seen with 1-9er. Now with this, with Russia and Ukraine, you could expect power outages and power grids being hacked, and they're already telling you to prep for it.
Russia's confrontation with the West isn't just playing out in Ukraine, but also on the internet across the globe. As NBC's Tom Costello reports, U.S. officials are now warning companies to be on the lookout for cyber attacks.
In the cybersecurity world, the warning from Homeland Security is a flashing red light. Shields up, it warns. Every organization in the United States is at risk of a Russian cyber attack. From our power grids to our communication lines to banking systems, U.S. cyber officials fear a digital assault could bring the front lines of the war to America's front door. With Ukraine already under cyber attack, the European Union has activated its own cybersecurity team to help fight off the attacks. Now, New York has opened a new statewide Joint Cyber Operations Command Center.
Act as if you know that attack is coming, because if it comes and you're not ready, it can be devastating.
Recent cyber attacks have already exposed the potential impact on America's infrastructure. Last year, Russian-speaking cyber gangs launched a crippling attack on Colonial Pipelines, America's largest fuel pipeline operator, forcing a total shutdown and long lines at gas stations. Russian-linked gangs also targeted JBS, the world's largest meat processing company, forcing it to reduce operations at 13 of its plants in the U.S. The Kremlin denied involvement in either of those attacks, but experts warn the Kremlin may work with cyber criminals. Homeland Security says government offices at every level, U.S. businesses and organizations, should watch for Russian online activity and immediately shore up their cyber defenses. Verify all remote users' access, use multi-factor authentication, keep security software up to date, and monitor any traffic with Ukrainian offices or organizations.
The United States has the largest and the most technologically advanced economy in the world. But that also means we have the most points of attack.
The concern, a cyber war could quickly escalate, affecting citizens worldwide.
If they target our infrastructure, we could target theirs.
Exactly. And there's a snowball effect here. I don't think we really want to go down the line and see how civilians and organizations are going to get extremely hurt by this.
President Biden has warned there could be challenges for U.S. companies and U.S. farmers if Russia invades Ukraine. Nicole Killian continues our coverage from the White House. Nicole, tell us about these alerts that have gone out here at home.
Nancy, the Biden administration has already put U.S. companies on notice about the potential for an increase in Russian cyber attacks. The administration has encouraged businesses to beef up their cyber defenses, particularly those that handle critical infrastructure like power and water systems. It has also circulated guidance about how to identify a foreign influence operation. Treasury officials recently met with the CEOs of several big banks to discuss potential cyber risks. The Agriculture Secretary said U.S. farmers may have to step up if Ukraine's exports are cut off. The country is a global supplier of wheat, so farmers here may have to boost production. And the president has warned of the potential impact on energy prices. He said his administration is prepared to deploy various tools to provide relief at the gas pump, and he plans to work with Congress on additional measures to protect consumers.
So they're already warning Americans about this cyber attack happening here. Ukraine has been attacked. Their banks and government websites have been hit by cyber attacks, which means people are not able to access their bank accounts. They're not able to access their finances. These are all things that are not happening from the new boogeyman in Russia. These are happening from governments from within. All of these countries are operating together. NATO, all of this stuff is an illusion of international, they have this whole illusion of like international rules and regulations. They're all working together not to protect the citizens in all these countries from other governments trying to gain too much power. They're doing it to destroy all of these countries. Every leader in positions of power. And it starts, just imagine what's going to happen now. It started with the 1-9. And everything we saw with that, with shortages, the prep for that, with a power grid shutdown, with people not being able to get gas and all that stuff, with the pipelines, it's all going to be connected to a cyber attack, an invisible boogeyman that nobody can point the finger at except for a giant country. How convenient. And we'll come out as Americans and we'll go, we don't know, how did this happen? And Republicans will point the finger at Biden and the liberals will point back and say, well, it's better than Trump, and continue to be divided like fools, not realizing they're being played like puppets on a string by the global elites who have done nothing but show you their hand for years and years and years and are now doing everything that they've said and showed that they were going to do. So in Ukraine, they attacked many different networks, okay? They're hacker floods is what they're calling it. Several Ukrainian government websites have been taken offline as a result of mass distributed denial of service attack. This is according to the head of Ukraine's Ministry of Digital Transformation. The attack, which also impacted some banks, began at 4 p.m. local time. He didn't say which banks were attacked or what extent of the damage was. All they have to do is make up things like this and shut grids off. I've talked for years and years about Plum Island. Okay, and people were like, wow, remember those things that were popping up? There was mutated animals the CDC was doing. They were all doing just really, experiments on animals that you probably have seen occur on humans at some point in the recent past. And they mysteriously left that location, and the government instead used that location to begin power attack simulations. Well, we know from the past that anything that's a simulation ends up going live. Certain events have happened the 11th of a certain month. I think it was September. Okay, simulations. There was a simulation in Boston. There's simulations that we've seen at schools occur. Hey, we were just doing a drill. What happened? Oh, right. Well, these simulations have been going on, and now these simulations are going live because now we have the boogeyman to point the finger at. When in reality, everybody should be pointing the finger at their own government, but instead they'll say, well, they would never do that to us. It's a big, bad country. It's, we need to just focus on going after them, and we'll hear rumors of war and all these things that we'll do, and we'll look incompetent. It is all a charade. It is a charade. All of it. And they've been warning about it for so long that your hair is probably white since the first time you heard about it, no matter what age you are, because they just haven't stopped. And now with these stories coming out, who's telling us that we need to be worried? Our own government is. Aren't you supposed to be protecting us from this boogeyman? They're saying every corporation, every organization in the U.S. is at risk of a Russian cyber attack, according to the DHS. Every single company, even your local pizza parlor. So in other words, they want you to be so fearful that anywhere that you've run a credit card could be under attack. But they already have all your information, so you could expect it to just be a massive global attack. It'll be not just on your bank accounts, it's going to be on a power grid. It's going to be on a lot of different things is going to cause more chaos than the outbreak caused. All organized, of course. So as the Department of Homeland Security plays their role in this charade, they've issued the warning to the American businesses and to the American people for potential cyber attacks from Russia. I mean, does anyone use common sense here? Like, so there's just cyber attackers working for the Russian government, right? Remember, obviously, all the bogus stuff with the elections and voter fraud and blaming Russia. Just total, I mean, you can't make up how dumb people have to be to fall for this stuff. But they've obviously, been hinting at, these Russian boogeymen who want to hack all of our accounts. I mean, why would people even believe it? Who has the most to gain? The Russians? No, the American government would have the most to gain from an attack on itself from within, for more control and more power. That's why all these governments are doing it. More lockdowns, more restrictions. If people can't see that, well, they're blind. The DHS official said U.S. organizations should be ready to defend their critical assets, urging every business and government agency to act now. Now, look, I'm not trying to cause panic here. For anybody out there listening, you should already be prepared, right, with things off grid. And on my website at callforuprising.com, there's great forums where people have talked about that stuff. If you're somebody who doesn't have the finances to buy things that'll last or things that are non-perishable, whatever, soup cans, anything like that, people talk about how to farm and do stuff. And I'm not saying that that's exactly what's going to happen today or tomorrow, but it's eventually evidently happening. And even if they do it in small doses and pull a plug on the East Coast, pull a plug on the West Coast, it's going to filter down. And it's going to happen here because that's the narrative that they're pushing between Russia and America. And then we'll see who's ally in this whole charade. I mean, they're all allies of each other. They're all in bed with each other. The enemy to all these governments are its people, the people that they're trying to control and eliminate. Okay? So take away the food supplies, cut the power grid, cut the gas chain supply, and then what do you have? You have no food in general on shelves. You have people who can't drive or go anywhere, so they aren't going to work. I mean, they're not going to have the internet, all of that stuff. And what comes of it? Well, then the emergency acts come in, martial law, those types of things. And one of the things you could do if you're like, well, what do I want to be prepped? Look, will cash have any value? Highly unlikely, but more value than cryptocurrency probably. I mean, I'd assume so. But anyway, so the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency advised you to shield up. They said people should ensure all software is up to date and test backup procedures. Right. The same companies who run and control all of these programs that are supposed to be in your best interest and protect you are not doing that. It's all spyware. They're spying on everyone's data, and they could easily take everyone's data. They already do and sell most people's data, but they can already do this type of thing. But they have to have a boogeyman do the actual attack. Otherwise, the civilians become suspicion and they go against their own government. Right? What are people in America going to do? Russia's doing it over the internet. No one's going to go to Russia with pitchforks, right? And they don't want them to turn on their own government. So that's why they got to point the finger somewhere else at the boogeyman. And our government will stand there cluelessly because that's the role they're playing. And all it'll do is ignite more left versus right, false paradigm division amongst citizens when hundreds of years ago, this would never happen. The citizens would team up together, make sure the government didn't wrong them. Now, citizens just want to poke at each other, punch each other over, oh, are you pro this? No, I'm not. I don't like you. Who did you vote for? I don't like you. Let's wake up and see what's going on. No, let's create more restrictions on free speech, on the right to bear arms. And these people who are like, they're so stupid because they think that, wow, there's no humans that would ever want total control of people and total power. Yeah, it's all we've ever read about, right? About people and their lust for power and control. All these stupid movies that all these people watch with villains, the superhero movies. Aren't the villains always lusting for power and control and ruling the world, so to speak? It's really it's unbelievable that people don't see what the governments are doing. In bed with one another, globalism at its finest. And these people are telling you to prep for a power surge, the plug being pulled on the power, for the grid to go down. to be prepared. And you know what that means, right? Some people are like, well, if the power goes out, I guess I don't have a TV. Well, the power going down has to do with supply chain, food, heat, water, everything. Okay? And if you think people are dumb, if this goes down the way it's likely to go down, when it actually happens, if it's not anytime soon, you'll get to see for yourself just how dumb our society really is. Because people will be more concerned about having cell phones working than they will about actually drinking water or eating food. Because to them, that's the number one priority. Welcome to hell on earth. I'll keep you posted on this stuff with the cyber attack because the attack actually went down in the Ukraine. Now we have our pointless DHS and all these places telling us to shield up, Homeland Security, people who do not have your best interest at heart, people who want to restrict free speech because they call it misinformation because we're supposed to trust these people. We have people in positions of power that weren't even elected because none of these elections are real. And even if you believe the elections are real, well, who put people like Gates in power and control of an outbreak? Windows did? Microsoft fans of the company? Nobody did. They just do what they want. Who put people in power at the World Economic Forum to dictate that we need to end the Industrial Revolution and begin this technological revolution of connecting humans with machines? Nobody put them in power. Just like the people who you supposedly vote for. No one put them in power. Any of them. Trump, Biden, it's a show. And now they have everybody divided better than ever before because I've said it a million times. As long as I've been alive, I've never seen left-right divide like this. This is like steroids. Most of the time, nobody would even bring up politics 20 years ago that much, right? And everyone was talking about the boogeyman in Afghanistan or the caves over there, those types of things. Now it's a personal rivalry between political parties, like it's two sports teams, like the Yankees and the Red Sox. And it doesn't matter what your team says or does. You're loyal. Whatever they say, you go with it. Meanwhile, Big Brother is sitting there going, we're going to continue to put restrictions on you, even though nobody sees anything going on. We're going to keep quarantining you. Then, on top of that, we're going to pull the power plug and see how you respond. And you're going to do nothing because you're all going to point at each other. And if you actually point anywhere other than each other, it'll be at Russia, somewhere you could never get to and do anything about. And meanwhile, you don't think Putin is on the phone with Biden and all these people when they go to these secret meetings and plotting this stuff? Of course they are. They put on the charade, Biden and the U.S. won't go to the Olympics because they're boycotting China. Like they're not in bed with China too. I mean, they're all in bed together. They all want the same thing. More power, more control, and they don't even look at us as humans. You could read some of those books that end with the word MUD, M-U-D, where they openly talk about what they think of regular people like us. They think of us as cattle, that we're not human. We're subservient to them. We're just diseases that shouldn't even be here. And the fact that we breathe the same air, we should be honored. That's how they feel. And they've already shown that, but people are so dumb, they think these celebrities and these politicians have their best interests at heart. So get ready for a power plug situation and even just a test run to go down. You'll hear stories, power grids will go down in certain places, even if they do another just temporary run for 3 or 4 days of gasoline or gas lines or flat out pulling a plug in a city. Trust me, they will generate the story. They are full throttle right now, foot on the gas. There's no turning back. They've got a deadline to get to, and it's 2030. So get ready for it. I thank everyone for being here. I appreciate all of you greatly. God bless you and your families.